Hey guys, so I want to make a quick video talking about some of my thoughts on the coronavirus and a lot of what's going on. I'm not going to get super into the biology of it because I haven't studied this new coronavirus um, as much as I would like to be able to talk about the biology. But I do want to talk about our approaches to scientific research in general and to medicine, and how a lot of the way we've approached things in this country has not has left us very unprepared for something like this. How you doing? And so let me start with this. When a lot of the coronavirus stuff started, we started hearing that it was spread into various parts of Asia. In South Korea, they had tests coming out for it almost right away. And from what I remember, they had 4 tests on the market almost immediately. And if you needed to be tested, you could go and pay for a test and be tested. Right now in the United States, because of all our regulations and because of all of the red tape, there's still issues with people being able to be properly tested if they need to be tested. I mean, I was actually out of work for most of this week. I went into work on Monday and I had a mild cough. Started at work. I thought, okay, this is just psychological. But then the next, later on that evening, I was coughing more. And it was very mild. It was something that normally I would have just gone to work. But because of this coronavirus stuff, I had to be out of work Tuesday through Friday. And don't get me wrong, I kind of needed the break. I really did need the time off. I needed the rest. But with a lot of people, that's not their situation. Perhaps America in general needed the rest. Maybe we needed a break. Maybe we needed a few days off. But the approach to this has been basically, hey, let's shut everything down. Let's shut down the economy. Let's shut down everything. And that's not the best approach. I mean, if you want to tell people, hey, maybe limit how much you go out in publicly, do what you have to do, go out, get groceries, maybe go to a friend's house once in a while, but, try to limit how much you go out. That would have been one thing, but I mean, we can't completely shut down the economy. And, some people say, oh, well, you're putting money above people, or you're putting the stock market above people. Some people, they don't understand what economics is. Economics is how we are able to use scarce resources that have alternative purposes. Maybe that's not quite the text. Maybe I could have described that a little better, but economics is not just about making money. It's about me being able to go to work and say, hey, I will go to work, I will run a microbiology test for you, and I'll work for you for 8 hours a day and have you pay me a certain amount of money per hour. And so other people are able to get the things that they want and need, and in exchange, I get the things that I want and need. So there's a mutually agreed upon trade. And that's something that's wonderful about a free market, about capitalism, is if there's something I want that you have, and I'm willing to give you a certain amount of value in exchange for that thing, and you agree to that value, you could say, yes, I will give you $20 in exchange for that Pikachu bobblehead. And they could say, yes, that $20 is worth more to me than this Pikachu bobblehead. And obviously the Pikachu bobblehead is worth more to me than that $20. I'm not buying a Pikachu bobblehead for $20, by the way. But you have this mutually agreed upon exchange. Now, if the government comes in and says, oh, well, you have to sell that Pikachu bobblehead for $5, the person who owns it might not agree to sell it for that price, and the exchange doesn't happen. And so then that's unjust. It's unjust to them, and it's unjust to me, because we have an exchange we would want to agree upon by mutual consent. Now, if the government says, oh, you have to sell it for $50, well, a lot of this is basically what you see with a lot of the minimum wage and price control type things. You see this a lot if you say, let me take a step back. If you say, hey, I want to sell this for, government says you have to sell it for $50, you say, well, that's not a fair price, so I'm not going to do it. And by not allowing us to agree on what we mutually see as a fair price, the government is being unjust. Now, there's definitely a difference between fairness and justice, and Steven Crowder gets into that in some of his videos, but that's maybe a topic for another time. But you take this back around to something like what you see in medicine, where the government comes along and says, well, you have to sell the drug for this amount of money. You can't sell it for more than that. You have to sell it for this amount of money. Or you can't sell it for less than this amount because that'd be unfair to your competition. It creates a lot of problems. And then people don't want to invest money in creating more drugs, in creating new pharmaceuticals. And by not allowing them to create new medicines and new pharmaceuticals, by over-regulating that part of the economy, you end up leaving the economy unprepared for something like the coronavirus. And thank God it was this. Thank God it wasn't something so much worse. I mean, there's been, from what I remember, the Black Plague in Europe killed about half the population. And granted, that was a time when people did not have proper hygiene. They did not have a proper understanding of germ theory. So the science and the technology was not there yet. And maybe that's a moral failing maybe that was a moral failing on their part. Maybe they weren't properly pursuing the knowledge that they did have access to. I don't know. I think that would be a huge discussion for the history of science. But there's an article I wrote along these lines a few years ago called Science, Economics, Politics. I want to say I published it, I want to say I published it about a year ago. Maybe it was more recent than I realized. I don't remember the exact date that I published it. But in that article, I really talked a lot about, hey, if you want things to go well, the best thing you can do is have a total free market. That's the best thing you can do if you want things to go well for the economy. And part of what... How you doing? Part of what made me want to write that was a statement from Bernie Sanders complaining that pharmaceutical companies were making billions of dollars in profit, and saying, well, they're making all this profit, we have to tax them more. But anybody who looks over stocks, or anybody who has any basic knowledge of the subject knows, hey, a pharmaceutical company, they're going to spend $1 billion with a B just to bring a drug to market. There's a lot of research and development. There's a lot of scientists and technicians who have to be paid. There's a lot going on there. And if we want people to be able to invest in this in a free market economy, you can't just say, oh, well, we're going to tax this to death. And my immediate thought was, hey, you know what? People really need pharmaceuticals. We talk about, the high prices of pharmaceuticals. A lot of why they're high is because of all of the regulation. The regulation is worse than the taxes. The taxes shouldn't be there. Honestly, I think that we should not be taxing companies in the United States at all. You know what? And that might sound radical to a lot of people, but I think we should be in a system where we only tax the individual. Does that favor the rich? No, it doesn't. So I mean, if a man personally makes $1 billion from corporate investments, and that's his profit, okay, we should tax the profit on that individual. But let the companies just run. Let the companies create jobs. Let them create wealth. Let them do all of the scientific research that we need them to do. And, it's not a needs-based thing. As those of you who read my articles will know that I'm a big fan of Ayn Rand. And that is something that a lot of very outspoken Christians are against. And I kind of wonder if they're the vocal minority. But, a total free market, that's what's moral. If I want to go out there and start a lemonade stand, what right do you have to point a gun at my head and say, you have to pay the government $100,000 to go start a lemonade stand? I don't know if it's actually that much, but I have heard of cases where somebody is charged $30,000, or kids are told, oh, you have to pay $30,000 to open a lemonade stand, or ridiculous amounts of money. That's absurd. I'm told that taxi drivers in New York City have to pay $500,000 just to be able to have a taxi. And a lot of people in the taxi business were very opposed to Uber because they basically had this, I guess you really can't call it a monopoly. I'm trying to remember the term, but you had it where a certain inner circle of people, basically you had a taxi guild. I don't know if I'm using that term quite correctly, but you had this group of people saying, well, we're the only ones who can run a taxi service. Well, why? Why does somebody have to pay $500,000? It should be you go, you have a driver's license, you do a background check. That's reasonable. We don't want somebody who's been convicted of murder driving a taxi. And that should be it. You have a license, a good driving record, pretty clean history in terms of your criminal record. Go drive a taxi. That should be it. That should be pretty much it. It shouldn't cost you $500,000 to do that. And the same goes for medicine. The same goes for every area of the economy, because everything is interconnected. This idea that, oh, well, this part of the economy is essential and this part's not essential. You know what? You can maybe think that up to a point, but I mean, how many doctors out there had their first job at McDonald's? I mean, people have to... It really isn't the role of government to say, well, we like this and we like that and the other, and this thing is more important than this thing. And you know what? To an extent, that might be true. But just like an ecosystem, the economy is a living, breathing thing. And you start taking parts away from the economy, just like if you start taking parts away from the ecosystems, you're going to start seeing collapse. So, I guess a lot of that is pretty much what I had to say about that. If you are interested in some more in-depth thoughts, check out my Medium page. I have an article called Science, Economics, Politics. My author name on there is GS Muse, so that's GS, and then for the last name it's MUSE. So, go check that out. And leave me some comments in the comments section. I know a lot of what I say here is kind of radical, but I think that's probably part of the Overton window, that we've all been kind of brainwashed to think a certain way. You have the Democrats who are pretty much to the left of Stalin by this point, and then you have Republicans who are socialist light these days. So, yeah, that's basically what I have to say about that. I hope you guys get to enjoy some of those articles, and let me know what you think about this video. This is Greg, out.